Hello and welcome to another video. So I hope you guys are going to enjoy this. This is a pretty straightforward sword deck. It is focusing, of course, more on just pure storm damage, and that's really all we can do with it. It's really all we need it to do, as it is just storm damage. You really just get it in, you deal the damage, you can add the Iron Rock Fortress and stuff, get that out to go with the Latham, really swarm the board as much as possible, and deal with your opponent as you go. So hopefully we can get right in and check it out. So our first match is Rune.
Revel in the power of flame.
Time to shine, Daria.
Not really anything to say about Rune. It's Rune at the moment in Unlimited. It's actually, I would say, very mediocre in Unlimited right now, which is a bit disappointing. I'd like to see Rune kind of make a little bit of a comeback. It was definitely one of my favorite decks to play, both Daria Rune being one of my top 3 decks, and Rune in general just being one of my favorite things to play when I just want to have some fun. But starting off strong with the Quick Blader is always good, especially against something like RuneCraft that tends to not have a good way to deal with turn 1 plays. Not really much else to see. I mean, the Magic Missile, that kind of hurts, but leaving up the 2-2 definitely means we're going to get some more damage in. And now I can choose to go super wide, which is what I did. Knowing that we are playing against Rune, I thought going wide would be the better of the two things to do. Circle and Wind Blast, interesting. So, Wind Blast, not really a problem. Juliet, pretty perfect. We're going to be able to take this again. And with Sky Saber, we can actually guarantee at least another follower next turn. Magic Owl, now that's a rough one. I didn't really want to see that. That does mean that they're going to be going for more Daria-esque plays, where they're going to be playing big wide boards very rapidly. At least we can deal with this. I did pick the wrong Dragonite, unfortunately. I probably shouldn't have went for Lancelot. I think that might have been the mistake, but I mean, getting the damage was worthwhile, so it wasn't entirely wrong. I just got to hope that I can have a half-decent draw. Since I can pretty much guarantee we're going to lose the majority of this next turn. So they're going to be able to clear the board here. So I need to make up 3 damage. And unfortunately this isn't a great way to try and go about it. I mean, it's not bad. It's definitely an okay play. We're going to be able to swarm the board in some capacity. That's really all we're going to be able to do. We do have the Perseus, so we've got some option to, add some more stuff to the board next turn. Although we only need 3 damage, which honestly this deck doesn't find too hard to do. It's really going to come down to how can next turn go. Because if we can't win next turn, it's going to be nearly game over. Ivory Sword Dance, now that's an interesting one. So we want this to be a good layout, and that worked out pretty much perfectly. So we managed to develop our board, we dealt with a couple of big things, and now it's only really a matter of, are they going to get the one thing in their entire deck that can kill us? Fate's Hand's not good. Blade Mage, that's for 6, but they missed. They completely neglected my face, which is a positive for me. That does happen occasionally. I've got to give it to them though, they did have lethal there. If they had have paid a bit more attention, they would have been able to push and win that. Fortunately for us, our top deck ended up just straight up winning us the game, so that's always nice, but it's games like that that I just love winning. When your opponent pulls off a perfect lethal but completely neglects it and ends up facing the board instead. Whether they were going for a BM move or not, I'm not really sure, but with 3 health, you really should never take that risk, so I've got to assume they just didn't see that they actually had lethal on me and decided, hey, let's target the board, and by then it was too late. So, going up against Portal, this should be pretty rough, as Portal has a very good way to, of course, swarm the board, which is why going for Perseus turn 1 was probably the best play I could make. Although Icarus definitely is not a positive. And we don't really have any way to do anything against that, so I guess just leaving up the Iron Rock Fortress to combo with the Sky Saber in the future is the best line of play available. At least on the bright side, we have options. Dancing Blade, I probably should have saved it and used it for 10 damage with the Unsheathed Blade. But at the time, I was just more worried about them swarming the board, and I'm kind of glad I did. I don't think we would have made it to turn 5 that easily if I didn't take that out now. So, Sky Saber, this is going to give us at least something to use. We're going to be able to wipe out at least a couple of followers when we use the Evo point. Nano the Dawnblade. We've still got an OK Blade next turn. I mean, we have the Albert, which is pretty reasonable. We have the Unsheathed Blade, which could potentially allow us to throw the Albert out and return it to our hand. Really, at this point, it's just a matter of, hey, can we sustain ourselves long enough? Considering how quickly Portal can regenerate cards, it's definitely a problem. So, either of the Warrior, plus a nice chance to go for Princess Juliet. Probably should have evolved the Aether instead. That was definitely a misplay on my part. I made a couple of those major misplays in this match, honestly. If I had paid a little bit more attention, I wouldn't have missed those and got much better boards. Would have made it much harder for them to deal with. Although this board definitely can't be fun when you don't have Acceleratium out and you don't have any way to really push a lot of artifacts quickly. So they definitely have to sacrifice at least one thing, and then sacrifice another thing for killing stuff, so why not? Turn 6, I don't really have a play, which is a little sad. I mean, at best, I clear out this entire board. It did cost me my Evo point, but I think going up against Portal, that's worth it. We do also get a couple of damage in, which is nice. Plus we get to keep our ambush. The Unsheathed Blade with the Latham at least though as well, that does give us a way to deal with something bigger without hopefully losing him. And they're just going all in on this. No surprise. They really wanted to get as much as they can out. So we gotta play, of course, pick up sticks and deal with their board. Decide to just throw Albert out, since turn 8 is pretty much going to be an honourable night. So anything I can retain here is better than none. I probably should have actually left the ambush ambushed, but at this point I just wanted something, some sort of damage to get into this. It definitely ended up being one of my longer games for a while.
So this is the end.
This strength is for you.
And they're still digging through their deck. Since they haven't hit Desex, it's definitely gave us a little bit of an edge, allowing us to, of course, sustain ourselves. So, best bet, Honourable Knight. We're actually going to be able to take this out, which is good. And still retain an OK board. Probably the best way I could come up with dealing with it. And there is Entity. Actually not a big problem for this deck. It's not as big as I would like it to be, of course. I could have went for almost lethal, or nearly guaranteed lethal at this point, but we do just miss out on that. But the Albert, at least, is a good play. So I did decide to do it this way. This does give us some of the best odds for winning the game next turn. Since we do have Dancing Blade, which is 6 damage, and since it's split up over 3, we can win with it. The only real hope is they don't end up with a ward. That could really cripple us. Although Unsheathed Blade probably would make or break that, since we could just use Unsheathed Blade, play Princess Juliet, potentially wipe out most wards fairly easily, and really have no issue. Our opponent right now is just focusing on getting as many of these artifacts on the board and destroying them as possible. Since they don't have a Maisha finisher though, because there are no Evos left, usually I'm not too worried. I feel like they're probably aiming for a Saphira instead if I was going to be playing that. Or they're just playing straight up Artifact Swarm, and that wouldn't surprise me either. So I do get to keep their ward up. They did deal with my board. But, like I said, thanks to the Unsheathed Blade play, we do pretty much guarantee ourselves lethal. Although, even without the Unsheathed Blade, Dancing Blade would just win us the game. Evo, attack the ward, hit face. We get at least another follower thanks to Latham's effect, and that thing will have Storm and would get exactly 4 damage. So really it wasn't going to matter how we did this. There was heaps of ways to go for lethal that would guarantee us the win. I think this way would have got us the most damage since it would have been 8. But overall, couldn't ask for a much better matchup for the final one. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I have a lot of fun playing decks like this. They're a little more out there. They're not super basic traditional ones. They run a little bit of a different playstyle, and that's always a lot of fun. So if you guys did enjoy this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. You'll find the deck list in the description below. Until next time, guys. See ya.